Greetings, traveler. I am Sir Nox, the teller of tales. Would you like to hear one? Before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, as it helps immensely. Thank you so much. This one is called, So Do I Just Sit Out Until the Game Ends? Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Well, this doesn't sound good. This campaign ended a long while ago, but I'm still so salty about it. For reference, I have been a DM myself for several years, and this is my first time being a player in quite a while. I should have seen some red flags like our DM not including any roleplay opportunities, not knowing the rules. He let the players roll for stats, but told them the order they rolled them in was the order they had to go on in the paper. We had rogues with really low dex, barbarians with high intellect, which was ridiculous, and a strangely proud demeanor towards trying to kill the party. I know my red flags and all, but I let it slide because I was jonesing for some D&D. You all know how it is. The gameplay itself was very mediocre, playing some published module with a lot of jerky stop-start-wait, let me check the book wait, let me retcon this and that, oh, also you saw this last time, I just didn't say anything nonsense. Again, I let it slide because the group of players is fun. Combat is clearly the DM's favorite part if it's a little overpowered. I had to remind the DM of the challenge rating to party level rule when I noticed certain battles he said were supposed to be easy ended up being extremely difficult. He also flat out refused any creative use of skills or environment. The real kicker though was this. It's the final boss of some demon monster wave. There's portals to the spooky underworld popping up all over this cave we're in, and the DM has drawn us a physical map to place our minis on. The map is very detailed but squiggly, and it's hard to differentiate cave wall from water, from bushes, from trees, the way he's drawn everything. He doesn't give a verbal description of the layout. When asked, he points to the map and says, I drew it out for you! He does not clarify the drawings. One player, our rogue with ridiculously high strength and negative dexterity modifier recently fixed by Moa, decided to be sneaky and lure the boss to him while hiding in what he thought was a bush. He asked the DM, Can I hide in this bush? Points to the area on the physical map. Sure, the DM says. No warning at all. No? Are you sure you want to do that? Do you want to inspect the bush? None. So our rogue places his mini on the spot and the DM tells him he's trapped in some kind of ooze monster. Was it disguised? No, you should have seen it. It's on the map. It looks just like everything else. Doesn't matter. The book says it's there and you stepped in it. Can I get out? Nope, there's only one way to get out and you all killed it already. This DM expected the boss monster to use its random teleport ability to appear in the same 2x2 square the ooze was in to dismantle it and give the player one chance to escape. The map was about 50 squares in area, you do the math. In the meantime, our rogue took consistently heavy damage every turn, couldn't make an attack back to attempt to kill the monster, couldn't wiggle free, couldn't do anything. Attempts to kill the ooze were blocked by your weapons disintegrate when you touch it. If you shoot magic at it, you'll hit the rogue over and over. Finally, after over an hour of our rogue doing nothing, the DM relents and lets one spell hit, distract the ooze, and let the rogue out. Well, at least he let you out. I thought that would have ended with you just dying, which would have been horrendous. I mean, an hour of that crap is terrible, and playing that way is horrendous. I mean, honestly, I would have just left. That doesn't sound like a game I would entertain or want to be a part of. I mean, if the party is cool, though, I get the predicament, honestly. But, honestly, I mean, if the party is that cool, the fact that he let you out in the end, as stupid as it was, maybe it's worth continuing. But I personally, I would have left. That doesn't sound like a good time at all to me. Anyways, I have another tale for you. This one is called Player Has a Meltdown Over Husband Killing Himself, Delta Green. What? Hopefully in-game? I guess we'll find out. This happened over the past weekend. I am a GM that ran a Delta Green one-shot for a few friends for the Halloween weekend. For context, Delta Green is a modern spin on the Call of Cthulhu system. Players take the role of agents in a clandestine government conspiracy to investigate and contain unnatural or paranormal events. It's like a more official Supernatural. I love that show. The two main characters of this story are a married couple. I'll call husband Tex and his wife Anne. Names are changed for anonymity, yada yada. The module we played was a haunted house investigation that I thought was perfect for Halloween. Music from a darkened room for those interested. I had played TTRPGs with everyone at the table previously, and we generally meshed well. However, Anne has a persistent issue of modeling her in-game characters off of herself and life. With a modern setting of Delta Green, she practically plugged herself into the game. This is normally not an issue in my opinion, but Anne is the type to take it personally if anything happens to her in-game representation of herself. Ah yes, that could be a massive problem. One particular aspect of Anne's self-insert manifested in the Delta Green Bonds system. Bonds, without getting heavily into game mechanics, are in-game players, close friends, and family used as sanity buffers. Anne had based all of her bonds off of real-life analogs, among which was her husband, aka Tex in real life. You can probably see where this is going. The night had been going swell for a few hours. Everyone at tables seemed to be having a good time. I had observed that Anne was looking a little uncomfortable with the graphic descriptions within the module. I had given several content warnings before we started and continually asked, but she had assured me that she was doing well as the night progressed. The night came to a head where I utilized a mechanic of the haunted house to essentially lure a bond to it in order to bait an agent to go to the house alone. I had chosen Anne's husband to be the victim of the lure. In-game, the agents are resting at a local motel near the haunted house for the night when Anne receives a call from her husband telling her he was in the house. In a hurry, Anne takes one of the agents' 2 cars and hauls ass to the house in order to rescue her husband. The group had noticed Anne peeling away from the motel and promptly followed in the remaining vehicle to the house. Tex is first in and bursts through the entrance to see Anne struggling with an obviously possessed husband in unarmed combat. Tex jumps in to wrest the husband off of Annie. Tex then follows up by saying, "I would like to push him away from us, unholster my revolver, and fanfire it into this deranged man." Before I could get to word in, Anne exploded. She screamed out, "That's you! Why are you killing yourself? What is wrong with you? You don't have to shoot him!" And then proceeds to break down out of game and starts crying at the table. Oh boy. The mood was all over the place. Initially, a couple of us laughed at Tex's insane actions, but it went a full 180 in a span of a few seconds. A couple of girls rushed to calm Anne, and Tex attempted to placate her by running the usual gamut of "it's a game" excuses, but Anne lamented that her husband was now dead, and that she felt completely betrayed by Tex. I agreed that Tex's actions were excessive and offered to retcon that portion. I really did not intend for anyone to murder the husband, and the possession would have been easily removed had they simply tried. But the damage was done, and was no longer in a mood to play. Oh jeez. So the group settled to watch horror films for the remainder of the night. That led to another flare-up, as Anne proclaimed she was done with horror for the years. I stuck around for maybe half an hour after that, then took my leave as it had gotten pretty awkward after the tantrums. In hindsight, I should have not made Anne's bond the target of the house, but Anne was chosen through a series of roles. If I had not done anything to her, then that would have been no better than favoritism in my opinion. Plus, everyone played the game knowing full well this is make-believe. I guess some people just cannot separate fact from the theater of the mind. It sounds like Anne has some real-life issues that she needs to solve or figure out, or maybe it's just some sort of mental condition that she has that isn't solvable. And if that's the case, either you need to cater games entirely to her, or she should just stop playing this stuff altogether. I honestly don't know. I'm not a professional, and I have no way of actually diagnosing anything. But it sounds like Anne is not someone I would want to play with, or isn't fully themselves, or trauma. I honestly don't know, and I want to be sensitive about it. I don't want to say something that's insensitive, but it just comes off weird. It definitely doesn't sound like someone I would want to play games with, especially those types of games. Maybe Monopoly, or Risk, or something. I don't know. Uno, huh? Yeah, y'all see. But definitely not these types of games. It doesn't sound like this is the kind of game that she would find enjoyable. Yes, of course. So anyways, well, that concludes our tales for today. If you would like to hear more, come back and I shall tell you some.